Podcasts on UNC-TV.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.
Author and activist Linda Stout founded the Piedmont Peace Project to improve the conditions of workers in rural Appalachia. The project was recognized with the National Grassroots Peace Award. Her book, Collective Visioning, offers a process to help people of all economic, racial, religious, and political backgrounds create a sustainable future together. Ms. Stout recently stopped by our studios to talk about her work.
Linda Stout, welcome to North Carolina Now.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
You have written an interesting new book. It's called Collective Visioning, How Groups Can Work Together for a Just and Sustainable Future. Prior to writing the book, you founded the Piedmont Peace Project in 1984 and an organization called Spirit in Action in 2000. Before we talk specifically about the book, give us an overview of your work and background.
Okay, I think my work came a lot out of my background because I grew up in poverty in rural North Carolina, and my father was a tenant farmer and later went to work in the mills. And growing up in poverty, at the same time I was 13th generation Quaker, and I think that gave me a particular lens on the idea that I could make change and have and stand up and resist, inequality. So.
And your new book, Collective Visioning, has been called really a practical guide for people who are wanting to make positive change in today's society.
Yeah.
What did you want to accomplish with this book?
Well, I feel like one of the major issues that keep us from making positive change in our community is that we're always focused on what's wrong, and that doesn't inspire people to join or to stay in it for the long haul, and it's always like really hard stuff. And so if we work from a place of vision, which is what we did as low-income people and the multiracial folks in rural North Carolina, we're able to have joy in knowing what we're trying to reach out for. And I've seen it work over and over and over throughout the country as I do it now, working to make change in the education movement and kids using it to work in schools and even hospitals, but primarily justice organizations working for change. Yeah.
What are some of those key steps when you're bringing together people of different backgrounds, different experiences, to define that collective vision and get everybody moving forward in the same direction?
Well, I think that's really, the first thing is to get the people in the room, and that takes a lot of work. I devote a whole chapter just to talk about how do we invite people in a way that welcomes them into the space, and then how do we create a welcoming, inclusive space that everyone feels that they have their power and their whole voice. And so that's a really critical piece that often we overlook or don't think about. And then there's the step of really creating trust among each other and telling our stories and doing things that sometimes people say we don't have time to do, but if we don't do it, things fall apart. And then as we collectively vision together, everyone's vision, everyone's voice is heard, and maybe something you envision, I might add to, and we keep sparking ideas with each other, and only then can we look at, well, where are the commonalities? Where are our places that we can prioritize and agree to move forward with, and then create a plan of how to get there.
How do you think your approach is different from other approaches that have been used to pull people together for activism in the past?
I think it's really grounded in heart and what I call spirit, which is not just religious or spiritual practice, but just the spirit of who we are, the spirit of our hearts, and because we are such a diverse community and diverse religions or non-religions, we need to have a way that we can be really grounded in that and know our stories with each other. And that's really important because it can also be our greatest challenge if we let it be, as opposed to our greatest strength.
How does community activism compare today than when you started in this line of work several decades ago?
Well, I think several decades ago there was a real focus on, let's just focus on what's wrong in the community. And I think more and more we began to understand that what's wrong in the community is what's wrong at a national and international level, and that you can't separate it. In fact, the reason that I left my work in North Carolina to create something more national was because I realized that as much change as we were able to make, as much power as we were able to build, that we were never going to change things for ourselves long term unless we were part of a broader national movement for change. And so how do we do that? How do we create that? And visioning is a big piece of that, and how we heal divisions between each other is a huge piece of it, as well as learning to work in a different way and shifting kind of the culture so that it's inclusive of everyone, and changing our consciousness about things.
What do you hope that readers take away when they spend some time with this book?
I hope that they will take this book and use it wherever they're at. If they're in an organization, great, but if they're not, in their churches, in their whatever organization they're a part of, or as one 18-year-old young woman said to me, who said, I've already become so disillusioned, I've quit doing anything. And she says, I'm going to take this book and start a book club with people in my neighborhood. And so, yeah, and now there's we call them book circles, springing up all over the country. So that's great.
And how does that make you feel to see your work used in that way? Your previous book is still being used on college campuses for teaching students about activism and how to engage activity in their communities.
Well, it gives me a lot of hope, especially as I see young people using it and children being able to use it. I talk about the book as a collective we, because I don't think that I just learned this by myself. I've learned it through working with people throughout the country, and all the ideas and all the things that get sparked from every question or every mistake or every way we do it. It's a collective effort. And so I think that's true for any writer, that it's hard for me to take credit for just me writing the book, because all those ideas have come through growing with these organizations.
Finally, if our viewers want to learn more about your work, if they want to learn more about the book, what do they need to do?
Well, they can go to my website, lindastout.org, and there they can connect to our training program, Power Up Networks, and to Spirit in Action, and learn more about how to get involved and how to start a book club or any of those things. And ask questions. So it's going to be a very interactive website that people ask questions, and we will provide training and mentoring programs.
Linda, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. We appreciate it.
I really appreciate it too. Thank you.
Podcasts on UNC-TV.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.